about how the fight goes, let's don't forget this motherfucker can't really fight. Hey, love, I'll see you next time. See you tomorrow. Man, they've been saying Nate's tough. Nate's a dog. Well, guess what, Ariel? Tomorrow, I'm dog walking that putting him back on a leash, and I'm sending him back to the cage. I'm fucking him up, Ariel. I'm fucking him up. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Peace, everybody. Sweet Science Boxing Academy. We back with another video. All right, so I just got finished checking out the Jake Paul and Nate Diaz official weigh-in, and them boys, they look to be in good shape, especially Jake Paul. Jake Paul looked in real good shape. He came in at 185 even. The boy looked tight. He looked shredded. He looked cut up. Looked good. It was like he ready. Like he did real good for this camp, which he should, because y'all know his last outing, he came up short when he went up against Tommy Fury. So I guess he got a statement to make, and they picked the perfect opponent for him, which is Nate Diaz. Now, what I mean by that is, as far as his MMA career, Nate Diaz got a lot of scar tissue damage. He bleeds real easy. So if Jake Paul catch him with one of them overhand rights that he like to shoot a lot, they can possibly stop the fight just on the mere fact that he possibly be bleeding a lot, because he bleed in a lot of his fights due to the mere fact that he been cut a lot throughout the entirety of his MMA career. Now, Nate Diaz, he came in at 184.9. Usually he be ripped up in his MMA weigh-ins, but in this weigh-in he came, oh man, he came in looking like somebody who just got out and they paid him to fight. He's like, all right, cool, I'll fight for that amount of money. And this is no knock on this, because I like Nate Diaz, and he always kind of had that nonchalant attitude, kind of like a Mayor or something, who would show up at weigh-ins and press conference smoking a cigarette, just like don't care. But this thing, like, he really don't care at all. Now, there's one thing I can say I will give Nate Diaz credit for, which is something that Andre Ward, someone who was one of my favorite fighters, if y'all remember, Ward always spoke highly of Diaz brothers. He always said that Virgil used to bring them into his sparring camps to help them prepare for big fights. And because they're awkward and unusual style, they were like always tough competitors in the sparring sessions. And they like to give you what he called the Stockton slap. So you don't know if that's going to translate into a boxing match, because sparring is totally different from the actual fight. And this would be his official pro debut, going up against Jake Paul. Now, it sounds so funny when you say that, like going up against Jake Paul, like he's some deadly machine. But as far as like MMA fighters and those YouTube boxers, I guess you would say he is, because he be getting them out of there, especially all the MMA fighters. The only one he came out short to was Tommy Fury, and Tommy Fury is a quote unquote boxer. But Jake said that he gonna put him back on a leash. He gonna send him back to the cage. He gonna fuck him up. He gonna do all that. And I like Nate Diaz last words. He's like, regardless of what happened, just remember, this motherfucker can't really fight. And I think he's saying that is because Nate Diaz understands that he at the end of his career, and Jake Paul built his career on fighting MMA fighters at the back end of their career. And because he's training boxing and they're MMA fighters, which is a crutch to them, because they're technically doing something that they don't really practice for in general. Because MMA fighters, one, they kind of stand, straight up instead of like on the side on the pivot where you can swing and all that, because they don't have to worry about that too much, because you got to worry about kicks and all that, and shins and elbows. So it's a little different. And with him training for like the last 5, 6 years, 6, 7 years, even boxing, he kind of like a top amateur, like skill level. So regardless to how much of shortcomings he has compared to fighters who've been boxing for years since they was kids, compared to MMA fighters and all of them, he's like leagues ahead. He's getting trained by like real professional fighters and former fighters and real boxing coaches. So the boy is learning now. Nate Diaz, he did have a reputation of coming in fights and upsetting people. I.e. Conor McGregor, that first fight. No one expects him to come in there and beat Conor McGregor the way he did. But at the same time, like I said, that's MMA. Conor McGregor is not Jake Paul. Jake Paul is naturally bigger than Conor McGregor, and Jake Paul boxing IQ, shoot, now is better than Conor's. Conor might be a good striker as far as MMA, but as far as just pure boxing, it's different. Now, back in the day, I was fooled because Conor used to do pad work and all that stuff, and it looked good. But when he got into the actual boxing match with Floyd Mayweather, and you seen his real boxing skills, I was like, no, all right. So both of the fighters, they seem to be serious. So we got a fight on our hands. I think Jake gonna pull this off, especially because he lost his last fight, and they're not trying to make him lose again because a lot of money is being invested in Jake Paul and building of his brand, and they trying to get the KSI fights. They trying to get the potential Floyd Mayweather fight because I think that would be the ultimate thing that they'll look for is Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather because now they both do these like exhibition type fights. Although Jake Paul fights are considered real boxing fights, but he's not really fighting no boxers, and the sanctioning bodies is not like picking up on him. Other than they were going to rank him if he had beat Tommy Fury, but other than that, no belts or anything on the line, no official belts. So I don't know, but I am going to check the fight out. I just want to see how Nate Diaz look in his first official boxing match, and I want to see if Jake Paul gonna knock him out. To be honest with you, because it seemed like it might go that way, but like I said, Nate Diaz proved us wrong before, and that's why I like him. But I'm just calling spade a spade. He had a back in his career. The scar tissue damage is real bad on both his sides of his eyes, so he can bleed easy just the same on both sides. And just off of that, they can stop the fight and give it to Jake Paul, making it a technical knockout. So we'll just have to see. But that's all I got for now. Let me know what y'all think. Drop your comments down below. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see y'all next one. Peace.